liaison for a lot of the local governments and for the regional coordinator as well. So we've got Glenn Curry from the Census here, and he's going to be conducting our presentation.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How you guys doing? Welcome, guys, to your LUCA training. We got a nice packed house here. I think you're close to the record. I think the most I've had was 92 people in one class. So yeah, you're getting close to that. But good morning, everyone. I'm William Curry. I'm from the U.S. Census Bureau. I've been doing this for 18 years, so I've been around the 2 censuses. This will be my 3rd one. And so I got a lot of experience, a lot of information I'm going to give you today. So basically, I want you guys to understand a couple things. Number one, I'm going to pretty much tell you all you need to know about what's going on with the local updated census address program. Number two, I'm not going to sit here and read all this stuff to you either. That's what I'm not going to do. However, what I will do is pretty much tell you what most important things you need to focus on. Okay, when you're doing this, there are a lot of important information there. I'm very informational, so you're going to get a lot. So, but I'm going to point out some of the things you really need to pay attention to. So, the first thing I'm going to talk about, I'll briefly go over the decennial census. The second thing I'm going to discuss is Census Bureau terminology. So for the next hour and 20 minutes, you guys will bring you into our world. I want you guys to understand what we're looking for, how to speak our language. So when you speak our language, you know exactly what we're looking for. All right? So that's what we're going to do first. Number one, the decennial census. Why is it important? You know, you guys use our data for making all your, all your plannings, all the federal funding. Everybody loves federal funding. Okay, we get that. However, states use our data for distribute portions of Congress. So that's a big deal. And of course, in 2010, states who participated in LUCA, everybody did for the most part, but those who participated got higher percentages in LUCA. In 2010, the state of Georgia gained a seat. So a lot of states pushed for this. No guarantee that will happen, but it does show that the more data we put into this, the more addresses, the more people we count, the more accurate the count is. That's how it works. That's the result. So, of course, this is 2010, 2020 projection for reapportionment of Congress. And so, the state of Georgia doesn't say no change right now, but there are also projections that say the state of Georgia could gain a seat. So, all these are projections. That all could definitely change. So that's one thing I want to point out. Now, why is this important? What are some of the new things we're doing? Number one, there's 2 things I want to point out to you on this sheet that we're going to be working with. Is we're going to motivate people to respond using social media. Okay, we're using Facebook, Twitter. Heck, if our commander's chief is doing Twitter, we got to get on there and do the same thing. Okay, so we're going to be doing that. We're going to be using social media to reach people, to tell people to get counted. Okay, motivating people that way. And then, of course, the population, we got a different method this time. We're using this affects everyone in the room. We're doing internet self-response. Okay, if you can go online, fill out your census form. Quickly, easy on your phone. Yes, we're making it easier to do it instead of just mailing in and mailing it back. So that's one of the new things we're doing. Or we're also having telephone response. So if you don't feel comfortable using the internet, you can use telephone calls, Census Bureau, and be counted right on the spot. So we got different ways to really approach people. And of course, we still do have mailing, but we're really trying to push people into using internet self-response. Who could participate in LUCA? You name it, states, counties, cities, you name it. Now let's talk about Title 13. Okay. Y'all remember on your registration form all the Title 13 you mentioned about Title 13? Did you guys remember that? Well, check this out now. I want to break this down. What is Title 13? What does it mean? What it really means is that you guys, we're protected by Congress. Congress telling us by law we cannot share this data with anybody. Okay? We can't do it. Why? Why can't we do it? I mean, it's just 101 Maple Street. We get it. You can find 101 Maple Street in Google or even on your data, on your sites. It's public information for the most part, right? Not for us. The reason why we cannot share this data with anybody is because You know how hard it is to get people counted? You know how hard it is people have to distrust the government these days? So if you think it's hard, we're doing all these things to motivate people to respond, but it's really difficult to get people who don't trust the government to fill out census forms. So we really want to entrust with the public that we won't share this data with anybody. That includes immigration, that includes IRS, it includes everybody. We won't share this data with anybody. So that's the reason why we have to keep our address data confidential. Now, for those who are liaisons, this is your task. Your task is to make sure that when you work on this program, that anybody who views our address data has to sign the confidentiality agreement form. Okay? So that's your task. I don't care if that person worked with you for 14 years, 15, 30 years, and they're y'all right next to each other. If they can sign that confidentiality agreement form, they can't look at it. So just keep that in mind. Let's talk about schedule for a minute. Okay, here we go. October 2017, I'm starting in the middle there. October 2017, we started trainings. We're going to be training all the way up to February. And welcome to your training, by the way. And so we got you on the schedule. I'm working with Alabama, Georgia, and Florida with all their training. So I'm a very busy person and traveling all over the place. So yeah, it takes me a minute to get to all of these places. So that's what we're doing now. And now, well, of course, you see that December 15th was our deadline for LUCA registration, although January 31st is a true deadline to correct our slide. So if you have not registered, make sure you get that in as soon as possible. You only have to, after I'm done, if you have not registered yet, go ahead and get registered. Has anybody got any emails or issues with their registrations from us? If you have, just come see me after class. Now, okay, here's the big thing I want y'all to understand, one of my important points on this slide. Between February and April 2018, you guys will receive the address list. Let me back it again. Between February and April, you guys will receive the address list. So don't call me February 1st. Hey, William, I didn't get my address. What is going on? I'm going to say it again so y'all clear. Between February and April, at the end of April. Okay? So for April 15th, you're still thumbing around. I haven't heard from the Bureau. No, that's your time frame. Okay? And not everybody's going to get their address list at the same time. They're going to stagger. All right? He can get his address list February 23rd. This city back here, if you get theirs on March 28th. They're all going to stagger. There's no rhyme or reason. And I think the main reason for our side of it is because we don't want the whole country coming us just piling addresses all at the same time. We can't do that. So they have to stagger a little bit. So that's what it works. So between February and April, at the end of April, you guys should receive the address list. Now, if you haven't heard from us on May 1st, if you haven't gotten it yet, you got a legit phone call from me and figure out what's going on. So we'll go from there. Now, one more thing. The liaison will be the one that will get the address mailed to them. So if you sign the person up as a liaison, they will get the address mailed to them. It will not go to the highest elected official. It will go to the liaison. Keep that in mind. Now, in April 2018, and let's say even all the way to the summer of 2019, we're going to go and validate all your addresses and give you feedback. I'm going to go more detail as we go through the slides, so a lot more information I want to give you on that. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Now, let's talk about terminology for a minute. There's one term up there that I really want you to pay close attention to, and it's one of our very important points that I want you to get. And it's one of the most important things I want you to get on that slide. Now, I know there's several listings up there, but that very first one is one of the most important ones. It's called geocode. Geocode means that every address you give us must have a state, county, tract, and block code for each one. Each one should, so our state code is, 13, and county, wherever you're from, and then, of course, you have the census tract, and then the census block. In order to update the census bureau address list, you must have a geocode. Okay? You gotta have that, all right? I know some people are like, well, how do we get this information? I'm going to explain to you how to get this information further down the road. We will see how this all works. I'm putting a puzzle together here for you guys, all right? This is the first part. We're going to put it all together, and you'll see exactly where I'm coming from in a few minutes. Housing units. This is an example of housing units that we want. You see your single-family home, townhouse, mobile home, and at the very bottom there, you notice apartments. Okay. Another important point, for apartments, make sure you have the unit identifiers for each one of your apartments. In order to update the Census Bureau address list, you must have unit identifiers. So, if you got addresses out there right now that don't have them, you might want to consider getting that information. That's the only way you're going to be able to update the Census Bureau address list for apartments. You must have Unit A, Unit B, Unit C, or apartment 101 or 102. You gotta have that information for your apartments. And those are acceptable housing units. Now, let's talk about group quarters for a second. Group quarters, so these are a good example of group quarters. You got your prisons, your nursing homes, college dorms. We need that information. Now, let me give you information about them. We don't need unit identifiers for those. However, what we need is the address and the facility names for each one of your group quarters. That's what we need. That is a must for us to update the address list with group quarters. So these are examples. I mentioned college dorm, nursing home, you name it, that's what we need. Now, let's go over unacceptable housing units. Here's some of the things we don't want. Number one, we don't want housing units are scheduled for demolition or condemned. We don't want that information, okay? So, you got a housing unit this hasn't been built in a while, the address empty, we don't want that, okay? Number two, another thing we don't want are under construction that is nothing there. I know how builders do. They go to your curb and they spray paint the address on the curb and they give you an address and they just throw it at you guys. And if we ever send someone out to validate it, there will be nothing there. We don't want that. If you're going to give us construction, make sure the house is there or being built. That's what we need. Something that's being built and we know it's going to be completed at some point. So we want to make sure you have that. But there's more about construction. I'll talk about that as we go towards the slides here. So those are the things we don't want. Another thing we don't want, number three, businesses. We do not want business addresses, okay? We do not want that. So make sure you do not give us business addresses. We do not want the address to the Shell station or the Macy's. We don't want that. So we just strictly want residential. Now, here's some examples. One thing I want to mention, I know you guys don't have marinas, you don't have to worry about that. However, there's one picture up there I want you to pay attention to on mobile homes. Mobile homes, if you give us mobile homes, we will take it. If there's an empty lot, for example, and they got electricity hookup and they got lot number 2, number 3, each one of those address, we will take those. Why? Because if it's empty today, it could be another mobile home over tomorrow. So we know they move around quite a bit. But we want to make sure you give us those addresses for those as well, even though a lot might be empty. So those are the examples of what we're looking for. All right. City-style addresses. You guys know the deal. City-style addresses are 101 Maple Street. Non-city-style addresses. That's the rural route, P.O. box. We want that information. However, if you're going to give us this information, make sure they're geocoded, make sure that you identify them on the map. We will accept them, and heck, we even will accept a location description for houses that don't have an address. So if you've got a White House blue shutter that don't have an address, we will take that as long as you can identify them on the map. Now, here's the thing, guys. We're not going to stick you all this stuff without providing you some tools for this, okay? There are several tools we'll give you to help you get some of this information. So let's start off with the count list. The count list is a list that you can download on the Census Bureau website now, okay? What the count list is, and I'll show you. Count list is here's your state, county, tract, and block. And these are the total number of housing units that we have for each one of your blocks. Okay? That's the total housing units and group coordinates. You can download this information now. Okay? Let me show you what to do with this information. Check this out. If you download our title file, right, and you overlay that block count list in the title file, it will show you the number of housing units we have for each blocks within your tract. So let's break this down even further. This is a census tract, okay? Census tracts go all the way around. Every area in particular for us has a census tract. Everybody I don't know if everybody should use census tract. It should be, but if you are, you look at it, this is a census tract. Within the census tract are blocks that we have. These are called census blocks. Within these blocks are your communities, okay? So if you have a 101 Maple Street, you put that on the address list, and you put that right here, that tells us that 101 Maple Street belongs to tract 030335, and this is the block right here, 2005. That's what we mean by geocode. Okay? So check this out. If you take that address count list and you put it in here, we're telling you how many residents you have in your community within your blocks. So, in this particular community right here, within this tract and block, are 301 housing units that we have for you. However, you take your address list and you overlay it in here with counts. We say there's 301, but your data could say 436. You already know there's a big discrepancy between what we have and what you have. So when an address list comes out, with your tract and block, you know in this particular tract, in this particular block, that you need to add addresses to the address list. Okay? This is how this will work. I will show you, as we go through it, it'll start to make sense to you what we're trying to do here, and you'll see what we're saying. Now, how do you get geocode? How do you get all your addresses geocode? We have a tool called the geocode tool. Okay? This is the geocode tool where we will take your addresses, you can upload it in this system here, and we will give you state, county, tract, and block, and even a lat long for each one of your addresses. So we'll provide that for you. Now, how do you get your address list prepared for this? I have two methods here. There's two ways you can do it. You can take your addresses, you can put it in an Excel file, just like this, and just simplify it. You number each one, you call that very first row ID. Second row is just your address, city, state, and zip. That's it. You take your address list, you simplify it this way. If it's in an Excel CSV format, you upload it in the geocoder tool, and we will give you state, county, tract, and block for each one of your addresses. They do 10,000 records at a time, so please don't have 150,000 records in. They won't accept it. Do 10,000 at a time. Give it about an hour. It will give you state, county, tract, and blocks for each one of your addresses. Now, if you are doing a text file, okay, if your address is in a text file, in this way, you will number each one, but you have to comma each one of your address, state, city, and zip. You do it that way. And if you upload that in that system, it will give you, and this is what the output will look like. It will look like this. It'll have your block, tract, state, county, and lat long for each one of your addresses. You're going to do that to your addresses, and then you update the Census Bureau addresses. That's how you do it. Okay? We do provide that for you. You can do this now. You do not have to wait until the address list. Actually, I would encourage you to do it now if you can. That's the time to get this done. Okay? Keep that in mind. Now, product preferences. I know y'all got the big old green sheets, they all these different product preferences. I'll break down a few of these. I'm not going to go through all of these, but these are some of the few ones I'll go over. The first one I want to go over is at the bottom, digital address list, digital maps. I know a lot of you guys check that information. What we're going to give you are your shape files, and we'll give you a courtesy copy of the Geographic Update Partnership software known as GUPS. I will do a 15-minute demonstration of what this software can do. You can pick and choose. So if you choose this method right here, you'll get both. And you can just say, if I want to use the GUPs, you can use the GUP, or you can use the shapefile. So you have several ways to do it. And I'll show you about that in more detail in a minute. Now, let's talk about review and update the strategies for a minute. Now, how long does it take to do this stuff? You got 120 calendar days to get this stuff done. So when the address list gets mailed to you, right? That's when your 120-day clock begins. So here's how it works. The first thing that's going to happen, liaisons. The first thing that's going to happen, you probably get a mailing from the Census Bureau. You'll get your password and some information on one envelope. That will get mailed to you a little before the address list comes to you. The second thing will happen not too long after you'll get the address list mailed to you. When it does, you have 120 days to look at our address list, make changes to it, and give it back to us. So, don't wait till day 71 to get started. And I'm telling you, the 120-day calendar clock is good. And I think Megan wanted to talk a little bit about the 120-day calendar.
Yeah, specifically in Georgia, I know that a lot of our mail rooms are not necessarily, like, at least in DCA, Department of Community Affairs, we have a separate mail room, and so I may not have to sign actually for my package if I'm a liaison. So you may want to talk to whoever's in your mail room and say, hey, you know, I'm Joe Smith and I'm supposed to be getting this between February and April. I need that package the day that comes in. Because sometimes, you know, a clerk or whoever's in the mail room may sign for it and then it may sit on your desk or something for a few days, but that clock is ticking as soon as that signature is signed for. So you just want to be aware of, you know, the time frame that the mailing may come out.
Yes, and that's what you're saying, 120 calendar days to get your stuff done. So that's one thing to consider. For those who are looking for addresses, these are some ideas where to find them, E911. I'm sure most of you guys know where to find your records, I hope. But if you don't, these are some ideas where you can find address records, planning and zoning records, you name it. Identifying priorities. If you don't have your apartments already with the unit identifiers, this would be the time to go get that done. So this would be a time to find out where you can get that information. Also areas that, you know, make sure your group quarters, make sure you get all the facility names and addresses for each one. That'll be an idea to start there, identifying priorities. Now we're going to go into what you're going to get, what some of the materials you're going to get. We'll talk about that now. So, what you're going to get are DVDs. This is how the address list will be mailed to you. So when you guys get your address list, let's say you receive it let's say April 1st. You're going to get 3 DVDs, okay? And for those who are doing other ones, there's different methods you see up there, but most of y'all will get 3 DVDs. And when you do get the DVDs, on each disc, you'll load it to the computer, and when you'll get a header file, inventory file, your actual address list, you'll get the respondent guide, you'll get all that information on each one. And you'll get a count list as well. So you get a lot of information. So, when you first put that disc in there, first thing I'm going to tell you right off the bat, the actual address list, you have to import it. You can't just simple double click on it like an XF file. It is an XF file, but you have to import the information in. I'll show you a little bit about that in a minute. So I just want y'all to understand. So don't get on there and you're clicking and clicking and developing. Why is it's not working? No, you have to import this data in there. Okay, I know, because I'm a double click person. You give me something, I just double click. I double click everything. But in this case, you cannot do that. Okay, so keep that in mind. This is what the address list looks like. I know for some of y'all in the back, you can't really see this well. So what I'm going to do, I know some of y'all in the front, I can't see this either. However, this is what we're going to do. I'll break this down so y'all can understand. On this side of the chart, y'all don't have to worry. That's us. This is your state, county, tract, and block. This is all that information combined in one inventory of your addresses, all the way across. Okay. This is what your address list will look like. So when you download your Excel, you'll get the whole entire address list for your city and for your county. All right? Same thing for the count list. You must import. When you import the count list, it's the same thing. You'll have all your counts for each one of your tracking blocks. So the same kind of thing that will provide for you. Now there's one way I know you guys cannot read this information, but there's something that count list I want to point out. How many counties do we have in here? Do we have anybody representing counties? Okay, good. We have a nice crowd for counties because you guys need to hear this. On your count list and on your address list, you may receive ungeocoded records. I know you just said that and said, what? What do you mean ungeocoded? Well, you just said each one of your addresses must have a geocode. For counties, this is for counties only. There will be some addresses on your address list that will have no geocodes from us. Why? It's because we get updates from the post office twice a year, all right? And every time they give us updates, let's say, for example, they give us 10,000 records. When they do, we'll look at it and say, okay, post office, out of the 10,000 records you've given us, there's 1,000 of them we don't have. We can't figure out where these belong. Can you give us information on for us? What's the deal with these? You know what they tell us? Can't tell. We just deliver mail. And we're like, how do you deliver mail and you don't know your address? I don't understand that. You got people on the ground. They just do. They just go out, deliver address. They don't verify. They don't do that. So what? So now this is what happens. Those 1,000 records out of that 10,000, 1,000 we couldn't find, we research them. We can't find them. They sit. They don't go anywhere. So the Census Bureau decided to help the counties, maybe help us out. We will give them to the counties, or if some counties will have some will have not many. There will be some addresses, maybe you can help resolve these, okay? And on your count list, you'll tell you how many you have. Now cities, I know you say, well, why can't we play this? Well, if we knew they were in your city, they would be geocoded. Keep that in mind. So counties, keep that in mind when you see the address list. You will get some addresses that are not geocoded. You'll also get shape files from us as well, for those who choose digital. You'll get shape files where you guys can go in and change the streets, update your streets with us. You can do that. And now I'm going to go into the setup. How does this work? I mentioned earlier you get 3 DVDs. But guess what? There's one thing I want to point out to you. I want you to write this phone number down because you're going to need to write this down. It's called a support desk. It's 1-844-344-0169. That's your help desk, okay? If anything goes wrong with your address list, we know things happen. You get it, you load it, it's not working, it's corrupted. We will give you a disk the next day, or even the day after. It won't take a couple days. We know y'all under 120 days. However, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, please try your disk when you first get it. Don't wait till day 59 and say, put the disk in. Oh, it don't work. Hey, Census Bureau, I want an extension. I found a loophole. I want an extension. We're going to look into it. Didn't your trainer tell you to try it when you first got it? You probably lie and say no. I know. I've been around, guys. I get it. I know. All right? I'm telling you to avoid this, okay? Fighting us to get an extension is like fighting, I don't know, City Hall. That's what we used to say. Ain't going to happen. Write this number down, guys. Okay? Make sure you first get the disk. I'm not telling you to do the work now. Just try it and make sure it works. Now, when you load the disk in, it's going to do its thing. It's going to work its magic. It's going to see a little black screen up there. And it's going to ask for a password. In your packet, you will get a password. Write it down. Write that password down. Put it somewhere where you don't lose it. Reason why? Because you're going to get your disk and it's going to ask for it and you don't have it. Guess what? You'll be calling that help desk. Trying to get it so you don't have to worry about it. Then when you put your password in, it will download the address list. Same thing with the count list and all the other things. Put the next disk in, it'll do the same thing, and it'll load all your PDFs, your DVD files, your count list, everything will go on the screen for you. Everything gets loaded on your computer. And these are examples of what your naming convention will look like. If you're a county, it will be a CO. It'll be a CO as your naming convention for your address list. If you're a, what's that? I'll be done.
Break down.
Oh, there we go. Had to wake up. All right. So, this is what your naming conventions will look like when you get the file loaded on your screen. And of course, this is your shape files, naming convention, PSD, or whatever your codes are for your state, county, or place. You'll get that. Then you're going to open these things up. So, when you open the file up, you're going to go in your Excel, and you're going to click import. Because what? You got to import it. And this is what it will look like. You can follow your pages on here. You can see, take these things home with you, make a copy of this. So this is how it will look like. You'll circle each one as it go on to do the limited. You'll ask how you want your addresses formatted. You'll say comma, and then you take text, and then you open a new worksheet. This is how you would do it. Same thing for ARC, our shape files. You go on ARC, you go add data, find the shape files, you just download them onto this. There's your map. That's how it works. Now, what to do with the address list when you get it? You got it all loaded up on the screen, you got everything, you done some passwords, you got everything loaded, and you're ready to get started. This is how it works, guys. This is another important screen. These are your codes that you're going to use to update our address list. You got A for add address, C for correcting the address, D for deleting the address, J for not in your jurisdiction, and N for non-residential. This is what you would use to update your address list. I will show you how to do that momentarily. On the other side, if you have your shape files, you go in and you add your line, you delete your line, and you change your attribute on the maps. So obviously, if we got it wrong on the address list, you got to go back to the shape files and correct it. So if you got your street wrong on the address list, you can correct the address list and go back and correct the shape files. I'll show you that in a minute. This is an example of how to add addresses to our address list. Notice these action codes all listed as add. This is a brand new development we do not have. We go on our address list, it's going to be like an Excel spreadsheet, same kind of concept. Go in and choose the add action code A and add those addresses with those wonderful geocodes you just got from state, county, track, and block, and then you add the addresses. That's it. That's how you add to the address list. And of course, if you're adding a new street to the address list, you go back to your shape files and you add a street to the shape files. Same thing for non-city style. If you got non-city style addresses, same deal. You use the A action code. You put your non-city style address. It's a location description. That's all you got. Right in here. And that's all you need to do. You put it on the list. Same kind of thing. The other thing is that this, here's our city style GQs. Notice in this, you probably can't read it from back here. However, have your state, county, track, and block. Use the A action code, and it's asking for the GQ name and facility name. Those are critical. Please, when you build a GQ, make sure you get those GQ facility names. They're a big deal. So make sure you get them all in there and the correct address for each one of those. Now, let's talk about the C code for a minute. C code is used to correct an address. So if the address is in the wrong zip code, if the street is misspelled, you use the C code. If it's in the wrong block, you use the C code. But here's what you cannot do with the C code. You cannot correct one-on-one maps. Can't correct the physical address itself. You must delete that address and add the correct one. So we have 101 Maple Street wrong. You delete it, and then you add 102 Maple Street to restate it wrong. Show you that in a few minutes. Now, in this case, as an example, we have this address in the wrong block. Use C code and put it in the correct block. You correct that. If we have the address in the wrong block, obviously the streets are wrong, so you go in and you correct the streets. You delete the old one and then you add the new one. This case, all of these records right here are all misspelled. They're wrong. Go to your Excel spreadsheet, put in the C action code, and put in the correction. That's it. You're just telling us you're correct. And of course, if you got to correct it on the address list, you got to correct it on the map as well, using the CA code. Now, you use the C code for all correcting all of these because we messed up all of those records here. These are ungeocoded records we couldn't find, so you found them and you put them all in geocodes. If you make corrections to each one of those, if you're counties, just make sure you just use the C code to correct those if you geocoded them right. And this is the D code I'm telling you about. You use the D code to delete. Now, they're not going to delete off your address list. They're not going to do that. However, you use the code to flag us to tell us that you want this record deleted off your address list. So you use the D code, so all of these are wrong. We got it wrong on your list, you use the D code. You delete the street off the shape files as well. Here we have an apartments. The apartment units we have are wrong. We have apartment A, B, C, and D. It should be 102, 103, and 104. So you delete the old apartment ones that we have on your list and you add the new ones. You get what I'm going with the add and delete? This is what we mean by add and delete. So in this case, we have pretty much a house that was converted into a multi-unit. Delete our record and add the multi-units to the list. Not in your jurisdiction. You got an address not in your jurisdiction, use the J code. It's real simple. You don't have to, that's pretty much self-explanatory. Same thing goes for residential. Use the N code because this address doesn't belong. Just put the N, it goes. Now, this is a summary of what all your addresses will look like. I know you probably can't see all of this, but here it has all the little different action codes that you just done. Now, if you got an address on the list that's okay, you agree with it's okay, don't have an action code, we won't bother. We know we got it right. We're just looking for your updates and changes you want to make to our addresses. And the same thing goes with your shape files as well. You want all your changes. That's what you're going to submit to us. Yes? You're gonna have to save it. Yeah. Make sure you save these changes. And guess what else you're going to do? Make a copy of all these changes. Make sure you keep a copy of this stuff. I'll tell you why in a few minutes. Now, how do you get this stuff back to us? Okay. We got two methods here. One, you can burn it to a disk, get it back, or you can use our secure web incoming model where you guys can upload it there, which is really easy to do. I'll show you that in a second. So what you're going to do is pretty much save all this security. You're going to save all it to the changes. You're going to name it. These are some of your, when you want to name it, all the changes on your ADID. So you make sure you change all this information. Zip these files up, and that's what your example of what you want to name it right there. So you want to pretty much password protect these and go ahead and just zip them up. So there's two ways of getting it to it. So when you give it to us, make sure you fill out this form. It's called a D2001 inventory form. Go ahead and fill that out. This tells us what you get. So pretty much what you're going to do, I'll show you real quickly. You take your address list. There's two ways you can do it. You can burn it to a disk. But if you do burn it to a disk, put it in an envelope like this, write Title 13 on both sides, put it on the outer envelope, and then you mail it. If you want to use our secure website, I'll show you how to do that. On our website, you call SWIMs. You only need one person to have a SWIM account. A SWIM account where you guys can upload these addresses pretty quickly to us, and I'll show you how to do that. If you go to our Census Bureau website, you go in, you register for a SWIM account. On your password token, it's going to have, when you ask for the password for your address, it's going to come with your address list. It's going to ask for a registration token. That's where you put your registration token. You put it in there, then you just register for an account. One person only needs to do this. You put your name, phone number, agency, email. You create a password that the liaison can remember, and you go in and put a security question, and then you create an account. When you do, you select LUCA, because we have other accounts as well. You tell us where you're reporting from, place, county, you put that there, and you simply just add your file. You just add those zip files, you bring it to the zip file there, and then voila, you get ready to upload it. And when you do that, you upload it to Census Bureau address list and maps, the shape files and everything else goes in the zip file here, and you can see it.
Can I interject just a minute?
Yes.
So DCA, so the state of Georgia is using the Department of Community Affairs and the regional commissions to kind of help coordinate this on a larger scale. The census doesn't have any way of giving you like a confirmation that you've done it. So print this page or, screenshot this page, or if you're doing the hard copy DVD, keep that tracking number and send that to either Michelle, or if you're from a different regional commission, send that to your regional commission contact. So that way we know that you guys have done it and stop sending emails to, hey, go ahead and get this done. But this way you'll have a copy and the RCs will also have a copy that you actually submitted everything.
Yes, and like she said, make sure you print screen this thing, date it. This is your receipt. And I'm going to give you a nice little wonderful thank you for the Census Bureau. You just gave us all your address. No, you got time for that. Yeah, this is going to be what you're going to need to record. Okay. We know stuff happens, and we come back and say, hey, we didn't get anything from you guys. You can bring out this nice little that what you got there that you print screen in, you dated it. You can say, hey, Mr. Curry, I got my receipt right here. I want to let you know. I'll even send you a copy. That's your proof to tell us that you uploaded this data to us. What's the next step? Okay. So, everything's done. You gave all the addresses back to us. We're done. Right? Not necessary. We're going to go in and we're going to validate each one of your updates. Okay? In about a year, we won't hear from us. All right? You're going to say, okay, we've done this, now what? Make a copy of all your stuff that you have and put it away. Why? Because you're going to need it for feedback. We're going to give you feedback on all of your updates. So, for example, if you give us 5,000 updates, we're going to go through, validate each one. And how are we going to do that? We're going to use online sources, and we even, in some cases, we will send somebody out in the field to verify your updates. All right? When we do, we will give you, the liaison, a report card. So out of the 5,000 records you submitted, we accepted, let's say, for example, your report card says, out of the 5,000, we accepted 4,500, 500 we could not accept, and we give you a variety of reasons why. Whether we thought it was condemned, or we couldn't find it, or whatever. We're going to tell you the reasons why we didn't accept it. But you're going to say, oh, no, Census Bureau, you're wrong. You are wrong. I got proof that these people live here. You can appeal those addresses. You will go through the appeals process. It's a 30-day appeals process. There's a governmental liaison that will contact you and ask you which records you want to appeal, and they'll give you a list of, let's say, they'll ask you to prove whether they be driver's license records. I don't know what they're going to ask for. We're kind of like cut out at that point. You will deal with a total separate entity. It will not be the Census Bureau. It will be a governmental liaison that's in between us and you that will determine whether these addresses do indeed should be added to the list. So keep that in mind. Now, let's say, for example, you don't have to appeal. You like what you saw. You say, hey, this is very right. We're good. Okay, so remember when I told you that everybody who do the addresses must sign in, right? Y'all remember that, right? We got to sign everybody out. At that point, we have what you call the return of instruction. You're going to have to fill out. You're not going to remember this now. Don't worry, you won't, but I'm telling you now, about a year from now, we're going to come looking for this. It's called a return of instruction. It tells us whether you destroy or return the materials. And all those wonderful people you signed in must all be signed out. That even includes John Smith, who got fired because he couldn't cut it in your city. And he was a reviewer. And y'all were tired of him. You said, you know what? We're done. He's gone. He moved to Colorado. We're going to need his signature too. But you're going to say, wait a minute, how am I going to go to Colorado and get his signature? You don't have to. Liaisons, you can sign out on his behalf. So anybody let go, or you want to sign everybody out, you can do that. So keep that in mind. But I'm going to tell you now, in a year from now, when everything's all done, everybody must turn this form back in.
So
Yes.
you can't sign them out at the time that they leave, you have to wait until that time.
You can sign them out early if you want, but you're better off waiting because you're going to need signatures from everyone else. Yes. Someone else did help. So yes, make sure we're going to come looking. I'm telling you now, your phone will be ringing. We're going to look for the liaison. We're going to come looking for this form. Okay, keep that in mind. Now, one more thing I want to talk about. Or several things. New construction. Now, it's not fair that all these addresses we have, you got a new construction, they couldn't play LUCA, okay? New houses are being built now, okay? They're not gonna be ready for LUCA, we get it. We have what you call a new construction program that will take place in the summer of 2019, where you guys can give us these new addresses. It's gonna be like LUCA, but it's only gonna be new houses, okay? So we wanna capture those new houses all the way up to that point. We wanna make sure we got all your addresses, even though you don't need them. So we'll keep that in mind. I don't have a lot of information on it right now, but this just to keep in mind that's what we're down. And I'm gonna give you a heads up now. Don't put those 30-year-old homes in this program. Just new construction. That's what we're looking for. Now, before I get into this, I got information period. And this is not in your script, this is just me talking to you. So I just want to clear up some things. We're going to go over a few things. Number one, you guys understand, I'm going to give y'all some clarity and some stuff. Okay, counties. When you get the address data, you're going to get everything. That includes your unincorporated, everything within your county, all your cities within your county. Okay? Cities, you're going to get the address data within your boundaries as of May 31st of 2017. That's the addresses you're going to get. All right? So from 2017, May 31st is when we had the stopping point. Let's get all the addresses for the current boundaries all right now. Okay? Now, counties, like I said, you're going to get everything. So if you got, let's say, for example, you're a big county and you know these cities over here are doing their own LUCA and you don't have time to really look and say, well, if those 3 cities are doing it and you trust that they're doing it right, you're going to get all the addresses and then you can focus on other parts of your county. Cities, if you don't have time to work on this, you guys can, if your counties are friendly, you got time, y'all can get along. Yeah, I get a couple moves. You can work with the county. Also, we got little George over here to help you with anything you need with this program. Okay. Now I'm gonna clear up another thing. If the county submits data, and let's say, for example, the city wants the county to do it, but they want us say they signed up on their own. Well, if the city signed up on their own, they're going to get an address list, but they want the county to do it. Well, guess what you got? The county's going to get everything anyway, and then the city's going to get everything. You got 2 sets of data coming towards one person. Let's try to avoid that. Okay, that's what we're trying to do. Try to avoid that. All right, because you're going to get 2 different sets of work. You don't need to do that. Because the county's going to get everything. Now, let me give you another scenario. If the county is going to do the whole county and the city's going to do it as well, we're going to get 2 updates from the county and from the city. If the city says it's 101 Maple Ave Street and the county says 101 Maple Ave, guess who wins that? And I think, oh, that's good. Keep that in mind, guys. The city don't let it up there. That's how it works. Okay, you can give you another reversal. City submits 120 records. County submits their whole thing. In that particular city, they 124 records. We validated the county's list and looked in the city and said, wait a minute, there's 4 records county added, but the city missed. We validated it. If they're good, we're going to attach it to the city's records. It's all on one-way street for us. So just keep that in mind. Whenever you do this. Any questions on that? Another thing, if you got IT staff that's going to be exposed to the data, I know they do backups, they get all that cloud, all that kind of stuff. We got a lot going on with that. If you think they're going to be exposed to the data, have them sign a confidentiality agreement for them. It don't hurt. You can sign and add as many people as you want anytime. There is no deadline for adding people to the registration. You can add as many people as you want, as long as you sign them out at the end. So if you get the address list and you realize, oh God, we need about 20 people, you can add it to the list. That's not hard to do. So, any questions on this stuff? Yes.
Just one example of something that happened to us. About a year ago, maybe a little more than that, we had a city that was actually dissolved, and we sent the updates to the Census Bureau. A, should those changes already be incorporated in the list that you're going to send us? And B, if they're not, what's the appropriate solution?
If the city dissolves, that data still goes with the county's list. It doesn't matter whether they are.
Okay.
If the city registered, then you might want to, then you give us a call and we'll try to work that out.
It was already straightened out.
It was already straightened out? Okay.
What's the other program?
In the boundary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's already been
Okay.
taken back, it's gone.
Okay.
There's no problem.
Okay. So, but you'll still get that data for the county. So for everything, because you're going to get everything in your county, everything that's in your jurisdiction. Number 3, I want to mention one more thing I want to give out some information on. If you have not updated your boundaries in a while, this is the time to do so. Okay. Make sure you update. And it ain't do you no good to go through all that boundary of work and you don't tell us. Okay. So don't come. So make sure you do that and you've got some information on that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so for the census to accept your annexations, you have to file them with DCA. We have a partnership with the census. If they're not in our system, then they basically don't count the census. So you have to file them with DCA for them to be considered. And then also, like William said, they take it for LUCA, they take a snapshot of your boundaries as of 2017. So if you have some annexations that have been done since then that, aren't necessarily been counted so far, you want to make sure whoever that adjoining, either if it's the county or an adjoining city, that you work with them for LUCA, that those addresses are counted. So you want to think of what your boundaries are now, but then also in a greater sense of what your boundaries will be in 2020, and make sure that everyone is doing against the boundaries. Does that make sense?
Yeah. In other words, what she's saying is that if you are making changes, you already know you're already past the LUCA period, and you made an annexation. All right. Those addresses are not going to fall under because you already did a snapshot. What we're saying is, if you want to look at that address, the county's going to get all the information. If you're a city, just work with it. Sign up for the county list and then see if you can get those addresses, make sure they are counted. If you want to do that, to make sure they're right. Yes.
How are rental properties accounted for? In other words, in May of 2017, we got 10 rental properties that are occupied. But when I get my update list and I discover that, well, nobody's living in this house, and maybe it won't be occupied for the remainder of the period. How do we reconcile rental properties?
Well, first thing you always say for rentals, it don't matter to us. Put the addresses on the list. Let us determine that. Okay. When in doubt, add. All right. Add them to the list. Let us resolve. Okay? I mean, it's still someone could live there. Right now, we're not counting people yet. We're kind of setting the table to get people counted. Okay. This is the first program right off the gate for the Census Bureau. So right now, we're just looking for the addresses. All right, so make sure you just get those addresses to us. Yes,
When we get the reviews back, after the updates have been loaded, if there were any errors due to duplication because of something, will those be able to be identified in order to lower our expectations on what our count for census will look
well, here's the thing, guys. Now, I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, make sure when these files are submitted, if there's any duplication in the file, they're gonna get caught. So we can't have two 101 Maple Streets in the same traffic block. Those are the kind of stuff we're gonna catch as we're processing. So we're gonna unduplicate any duplications we have in our addresses. So when you're processing, we're gonna contact you before you make the feedback and say, hey, your file had some duplications, can you fix these? We'll let you know. If there's any problem with your file, we'll let you know. Yes.
Okay, well, I was gonna follow-up question based on your answer. You said you can't have two 101 Maple Streets in the same block. What happens if there's some sort of Scrivener's error or other problem? You have two 101 Maple Streets, but they wind up in different blocks in the same tract or two different tracts.
We will look into resolving those issues. If there's an issue with your file, the way you submitted it to us, or in that regard, we'll let you know. If it's something we verify, I mean, it could be tomorrow. I've seen some wild stuff, believe me. It could be definitely several 101 Maple Streets in several different blocks. It could be. I've seen, believe me, when I've been out there, I've seen it. So yeah, it could be. We're open, and believe me, we've seen enough that there's some weird stuff. However, what we're saying is, if your file has duplications or issues, we will let you know. Definitely. Yes.
And I just wanted to add, this is kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but I don't know if you were wanting to use the digital or the Gov software, but the Gov software has validation written into it, so it'll take out duplications and a lot of those human error type situations.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You were talking about that, and I'll show you where to find that too. All right, so we can go ahead and show this Gov video. I'll tell you some things right off the bat about Govs. Number one, it's a QGIS, free software that you can use with this. It does have some benefits. The one thing I will tell you that it is very interactive. It's all one together. And you'll see as we demonstrate the video, and you can even upload your address list within this. So it's a one-stop shop, if that makes any sense. I'll show you the video in 1 second. It's a 15-minute video to do our demonstration, and I'll come back and
Before we get started, I just wanted to mention that Govs is based on an open source GIS program that is QGIS, and it's free and easy to use. Govs is being used for all of the geographic programs, including LUCA, and it's been created specifically to ease the processing and review process for users. Although any user can use the Govs, we found that it's particularly useful for those governments that are about 300,000 addresses or less. One of the big reasons why we're pushing this is because it is fully supported by the Census Bureau. So if anybody has any problems along the way, they'll be able to call in and get their problems resolved without any kind of other knowledge. Additionally, it's standardizes the submission process and has extensive validation tools to prevent incorrect submissions by participants. When you first open the GUP software, you're going to be presented with this window right here. It's the map management window. What the map management window does is it allows you to choose the program that you are working on. In our case, it's LUCA. And you also have the ability to later open a recent project so that you don't have to go through the entire installation setup process that we'll be going through right now. So after you select the LUCA program, there'll be access to the data is going to be. Now for participants, it'll be on CD or DVD, but for the demonstration, we're going to use my computer. As I navigate to the data, I'll just remind everyone that this is not Title 13, so there's no worries. All testing data. Because it's supposed to be Title 13, you're presented with a Title 13 window where you'll have to input your password that's provided by the Census. After you click OK, the files begin to extract. As you can see, they would have been coming off of a disk. You're then presented with the window that allows you to choose which counties you want to view at this time. This particular entity is within one county, so if there's only one county on the screen. However, if you have an entity that's in multiple counties, you'll be able to choose from any of these multiple counties or just one of them. As you click open, GUPS begins to load in all the necessary data, all the layers, the address list, the address count list, and all the symbology to make it easy and quick for the user so that they don't have to search and figure out how to set everything up for them. This is all taken care of by the GUPS software.
So
After the data is
your
loaded,
address list at the
you will
bottom,
see that you
count list on the side,
now presented with this map window, which shows all of the necessary layers for completing your LUCA program. You will have the census address list on the bottom of the screen, and you will also notice this user address list tab, which I will get to in a minute. You will also see the address count list that is on the right, and then at the top of the screen, you'll see all your GIS, or standard GIS boxes. So this top toolbar up here is for all your standard GIS, such as zoom and pan, deselecting items, saving. The second toolbar down here, this toolbar is all of the LUCA-specific tools needed to complete the LUCA review and submission. You have a show hide legend, which is for showing the toolbar on the side, so you can see which layers are active and inactive. Because LUCA needs a lot of screen space, we decided to start it with a close, but it can be open at any time. You also have a validation tool, which is the address review tool, which we'll be going over later. You have the export to zip, which is how a user is going to be able to create their submission. And you also have a couple of print buttons and the add imagery button. What I'd like to do is try to go over what a typical submission, or what we would call, an A+ partner, somebody who's well prepared for the LUCA program and may have their own address list in a digital form. They may have already had all their addresses geocoded using our geocoder tool or service, and they probably started a review of their address counts by using our address count download tool. For somebody like that, their first step would probably be to go to this user address list tab and import their address list. When you import your address list, there's two ways to import. They must both be in CSV or text file, and then when you select the CSV file, you'll present this import options window. The import options window allows you to either map your import headers, in which case you can say that, on my user address list, the state is put in this column, then a state FP, where the county is in county FP, and so on and so forth. By doing this, you can have a dynamic user address list that will allow you to edit the address list, save the address list, assign GeoID, view your map spots if you have lat and long coordinates, and add directly to the census address list from the user address list. If your address list doesn't have all this information, or isn't really going to work in that kind of manner, but you still have to be able to see it, you can use the view as a read-only reference table. If you select that, you will not be able to map any of the import headers, and the table that you are importing will import directly as it would show up in any other software. You'll be able to sort the columns, but you won't be able to edit or save or see any of the map spots. To get the full use of GUPS, it would be better to map the import headers, so I'm going to finish doing that. As you can see, the only two fields that are required are house number and street name. However, the more that you can map, the better, and the less that you will have to potentially fix when you choose to add them directly to the census address list. Now you can see that I've mapped all these fields, and all I have to do is select the OK button, and the addresses are quickly imported into the user address list. Fortunately for me, they all have GeoIDs, which is great because what happens when they're imported is in the address count list, which has been updated for 2020, we have a local housing unit count and a local GQ count, as you can see here and here. So what happens
if you
is that
upload your address list, it
when you look
automatically
at the census
updates the
data,
count list. So you get two
the
sets of
original
rules
housing
and
and current housing unit numbers will be populated for you. As soon as you add in the local housing unit, this will be populated for you. Then there is a sum done in the difference, so you can see where the biggest discrepancies are in housing units and group quarters between what the census has and what the local has. This is probably one of the easiest ways to start a review for a participant. If a participant imported addresses that have map spots, but for whatever reason do not have a GeoID, that address will not be calculated in the calculus. However, if that address is still located within their jurisdiction, they can simply highlight it, click the Assign GeoID button, and as you can see here, what GUPS will do is auto-populate the state, county, tract, block, and GeoID fields based on where that lat and long coordinate is on the map. This is a really neat feature, and it's going to be very helpful for the users that don't have GeoID in their data. It also happens extremely quickly, and then as you can see, you get an action code to see because technically that address has been edited in some manner. When it comes to doing a review, as I said before, one of the easiest ways and probably the best way to start for somebody who is unsure of what they should be doing is to, after they've loaded the user address list, is to sort by difference in housing units or sort by difference in GQs. This is going to let you see where the biggest differences are between a local data and a census data. At this point, you can select one of these blocks, which have a difference of 22 and 17 respectively, and it will zoom to that block. If you select the P-Select tool, you can see that the black dots are the census address points, and the blue triangles are the user address points. And you can see that there's clearly a bunch of user addresses that the census appears to not have. If after a little bit more research, you find that the census list truly does not have these addresses, the easiest way to get them into the census address list is to click on the user address list tab, click on the selection tool in the user address list, highlight them on the map, and you can see they've all been selected, and just click the Add to Census List button. Now what's happening up here is this is being recalculated, and as you can see now these are zeroed out because the census list and the local list have the same amount of addresses in this block. And as you can see on the user address list, because they were moved, they all have an M action code. And in the census address list, all those addresses have been added, and they will all have an A action code.
Every time you make a change.
After you click save,
it's
all
automatic.
the folding will become regular columns
So much.
to let you know that all the information has been saved to the table.
Every time you make changes to the address list, unlike.
If you no longer like to see
You put the A's.
folks setting data on top of each other like this, we added a checkbox that will allow the user to no longer see all of their user addresses, but only see the addresses that haven't been moved to the census address list. Simply by checking this box off, you can now see that we still have the blue triangles for user addresses that haven't been moved to the census list, but anything that has been moved to the census list no longer appears. It's just a small piece that might help the user with determining what data is theirs and what is on the census list. If you performed your review and you find that the census list is pretty much correct, however, there's some sort of error within the list itself, in the address, there's two ways to go about editing that address. Because the address list is designed similar to a spreadsheet, you can simply double click in a cell, the cell highlights, and then you can edit the address as you need. When you click out of the cell, the edited cell will become bolded to let you know that you've edited it, and there will be an automatic key action code for change placed in the action column. If I decided I didn't need that, or I made a mistake, and I wanted to go back, I can simply hit the clear edits button, and what we'll do is remove the edits that are in bold, and return you back to what was there before. If the other way to edit an address is to select the entire address row, select the edit button, and the address update pop-up window will appear in the right. This window allows you to see all of the address information in one tight little area so that you can edit or change or potentially add a map spot or move a map spot. For this, we're just going to edit the street name, and then we're going to add a map spot. So this will be 19 road. And then to add a map spot, you just click the Add Map Spot button, click where you want to add this new map spot. You get a crosshair, you hit the OK button, and as you can see, as soon as you hit the Add Map Spot, as soon as you hit on the map, the Latin long are populated for you, as well as the state, county, tract, and block are populated as well. You hit the OK button, and the address point is added, as well as all of these edits. You hit the save button, and the changes have been saved. If you find that an address is not in your jurisdiction, you can simply highlight the address, select the Out of Jurisdiction button, and a J will be assigned to that address. Similarly, if you find that an address is non-residential or should not be in the address list at all, you can simply select the address, select the non-residential button or the delete button, and they will be populated with an N or D respectively. Again, just hit the save button, and the edits will be saved. It's a good reminder to always use the save button as often as you can. Additionally, for people with larger address lists, what you'll see in the census address list window is a little select button in the bottom. What this drop-down menu does is it allows you to filter either by certain fields, where you want to find all the addresses that have Bluegrass Road, like here, you'd be able to type that into the column filter, or you can filter by block. So if I wanted to just see the addresses in this block, I hit the block filter, I then select this button at the top for the selection tool, I select the block highlighted, I select the search button back down here, and now the only addresses that are showing in my address list are the 28 out of the 805 that currently are in this block. And of course, we have a bunch with 8 because we added so many from the user address list. If you needed to have more than one block, say you were comparing what's on one side of the street versus something on the other side of the street, which I imagine is extremely typical for users, you can do that as well using the same tool. Use the block filter, the selection tool, say we'll select this block, and this block, you use the control key, push that block, now we've got 2 blocks selected, you hit the search button, and now we've got both of those blocks in this list. Of course, there's only one address in that one block, right here. Lastly, and of course saving the best for last, is that with this version of GUS, we have a ton of built-in validations for the address list. So let's say a person would like to edit an address in the census address list, but they incorrectly put in a zip code that only has 4 digits. The validations can be as simple as that. They'll check to make sure that there's 5 digits in the zip, and can get as complicated as checking to see that the lat-long coordinate for this address is located within the block that says it's in, and make sure that the block and track the block are valid for the person's jurisdiction. Now, I know that sounds very complicated, but what that does is it helps prevent the user from submitting addresses that they shouldn't be submitting, or submitting incorrect addresses. It makes our processing life a lot easier and straightforward. Now, if this is what I put in, and there's clearly an error here, when I click the Save Edits button, validations are currently being run, and you get a census error list. If I click on this address, which is the same address that's right here, and click Fix, and the address update window pops up, and it gives me exactly what's wrong with this address. Yes, again, in this case, the zip code needs to be 5 digits, and it's only 4. So I can simply change that to 5, and select OK, and the address will no longer be in the error list, and the address gets saved to the address list. At this point, if I've completed my review, there's only 2 steps left before I can completely submit. The first step is to use this address review tool at the top of the screen, which again performs all the validations that you see throughout the saving and editing process, but additionally checks for duplicates through the entire address list. Now, for me, I know that this shouldn't have any errors because we didn't make a ton of changes, and again, as you see, there's not a lot of errors. From there, I can go to the Export to Zip button, which nice and neatly exports the entire submission, zips and encrypts it, and prepares it so that you can submit it through Swing. Additionally, if there were some sort of validation error that occurred between doing the address review tool and the export to zip, another set of validations are run very quickly to make sure that that hasn't happened. When you select that button and your file passes, you are presented with the contact information form. If you wish to update, you can, but it's completely up to you. You select the OK button, and all your data has been zipped and encrypted and placed in this location. So you can select the Yes button to see where that is. And as you can see, you have two different files in here. The reason why is because you have this file, which is for your address returns, and in the event that you have made edits to the contact page or have made linear feature road updates, they will be a shape file that was into this one. At this point, you can select both of these, or one or the other, and submit them for SWIM for your submission. So this concludes your Gus demonstration.
Okay, so, in a nutshell, what do you guys think? Wow, say something. Oh, yeah. Got a question now. Okay, got a question.
I mentioned, they mentioned a clear end button. When you click that, does it clear all edits you've ever done or the most recent edits?
Probably the most recent edit that you just did.
From your last save.
Yeah, from your last save. Yeah. So I know for some that's a lot. For those, yeah, go ahead.
Question, roads with multiple names.
Yeah, with the dual law? When you mean like, oh, okay, I see, you have multiple roads and say 101 Maple Street, also Route 134, or
No, might be US highway, Georgia state route, local road condition, Bisbee Point Memorial Highway.
gotcha. I've seen,
What are you favoring?
that's a good question. That I don't know. I do know, I've seen it in some cases, we do accept certain ones or from the state or whatever the preferred choice road is, but then it probably will show up on your address list, and that would be able to change it, and you can, if that's what you want. It will be up to you to tell us if that's the preferred choice of road. Because we do have a standard that we go over, we may not do a GSS file, let's say, for example, if you gave us a file, we will take those updates and we'll put them on your address list. And so if you gave us the preferred choice of road, it will show up on the address list. And if you disagree with it, you can change it. So that will show up on there. But that is a good question. That's the best question I've had in several weeks. I like questions. Yes.
It said it found on QGIS,
Yes.
so you don't already have to have QGIS downloaded in order to run this.
Not for this, no.
Okay.
This is one-stop shop. You go this on the computer, you got it.
All right.
Any other questions? All right, last but not least, I'm going to show you our Census Bureau website, where you can go in and find some of the stuff that I talked about. I'll show you that in just a second.
And while William said this, I just wanted to mention, if you didn't already sign up on the sign-in sheet on the outside, that's how we're going to get this PowerPoint and the Gus video to you. So please go ahead and make sure that you sign in for this.
Also, we have the presentation on the Middle Georgia
Oh, okay,
Commission's
sorry.
website, so you can download it from there.
All right. Here is the Census Bureau website. This is where you go to find stuff, all that nice stuff we just talked about here. I'll just go bring it up. When you go here, you select geography. In here, you select partnership. When you get here, there's lots of information. We got boundary annexation survey, we got several geographic programs going, but the one we're interested in today is LUCA. This is the LUCA website, guys. This is where you get all the information. You find how can I participate, what's new, what's our schedule. So if you want to know our training schedule, how we register. If you need confidentiality agreement forms, just simply click on this form, a PDF will pop up. You can add people to the list. When you're done, just submit to the email address that's right here. It tells you where to go. Email these forms if you need them. Email these forms and add people to the confidentiality agreement. So you can do that. If you were interested in seeing who else is being registered, you want to go on here and they say, wait a minute, I want to know who all around me is participating. We have a nice wonderful map here, and you can take it and you zoom in on it. State of Georgia, it will show you who all around you has registered and what other cities are doing this. So you can go on here and do that. So if you want to be nosy, you want to look around and say, come on, let's see what we're doing. Yeah, you can go on here and see. So you can do that, okay? You can do that. So there's lots of information you'll find there. Go back. So this is where you'll find it. See which governments are registered in the same area. And here's some other information here. How can I download my address count list? It's right there. And you just pretty much select your area. You can select Georgia. You can go and download your count list for your city or your county within here. It'll show you how to do that. Now, geocoder. Here's the geocoder tool. You click on that, it will bring you to the geocoder tool. And if you got questions about it or information, instructions on how to do it, there it is right there, the geocoding service. Okay, you got that right there as well. If you want to, remember how I showed you where you can take your address count list and download our tiger shape file? Well, there's our tiger shape file right here, and you've got information on how to join your tiger shape file. Of course, you better have ArcGIS to do that, but make sure that's information on how to do that. Questions about that? All right, who's some ARC users in here? Do we have any ARC users in here? How many of you folks doing that? Okay, for those who do ARC users. If you, of course, as you saw on our software, we have validations that we do run. All right. Well, we provide some validations for you guys for the setup for yourself. Here you go. It's called statewide electronic layout. Legal validation. Click on that. The validations, you know, you can take this and run. This is some of the things we're looking for. So you can create scripts or where you want to run validations for yourself. So we have lots of information for you guys. And this is constantly being updated. It got flyers. I got everything you would want. Information you can find. Oh, sorry. So that's where you'll find a lot of the stuff. Any questions? Yes.
You mentioned earlier that unit identifiers are required for apartments now. I guess there's a change. This is LUCA update. Is that correct?
What's that, man?
The unit identifiers on apartments now being required. Is that something y'all have, I've been working on that postal updates, right? I mean, I'm concerned that some of these things might fall through the cracks whereas previously not requiring unit identifiers and now requiring the identifier.
Well,
the number on the apartment.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years ago, we know it's a lot of data has changed. We know that. And I will say this. Last census, we did not require that. You're correct. The reason why we're required this time because there was such mass confusion on apartments. Apartments is one of our biggest problems. The reason why last time we asked for counts, how many units. So if you told us that this apartment building had 200 units, we go out and try to verify it, and they had 220 units, or they miscounted. Oh, well, that can't be the right apartment, because they said it was 200 units. Confusion. The unit identifies that eases the confusion for us. And we should know, we're looking for apartment 101, 102, 103, we get it down to the exact sign, so exactly how many, which units are in these apartments. So that's why we're requiring this time, and you'll see the what we have.
Right, and then when the data comes, you already have a good portion of that done. I mean, we're verifying.
Right, you may see some that have, some more, that's what you're gonna add to the list. You're gonna see that, yes. Any other questions? That's it.
Hey, Will,
Yes.
can you still have the binary annexation loaded at the same time as the GUPS? Because the binary annexation, I use that as the GUPS as well.
Okay,
So
so,
I need to uninstall it, 'cause I heard.
no, you go uninstall 1 and 2, it will update yours for LUCA.
Okay.
When you put that disk in, it'll say, oh, it'll notice that it already has it, and then it'll update it for you. For LUCA, you put the LUCA module on for you.
And what it'll do is when you first open it, it'll ask you, do you want to do BAS? Do you want to do LUCA? It has a list of different products. And so you can just choose LUCA, or, you know, if you are doing BAS at the time, you can go in and open LUCA BAS.
So they won't conflict each other?
No, it updates it and you can choose which one you want to.
All right, well, thanks, guys, training is over.
I just want to say really quickly, that we here in Florida are going to be holding another session February the 9th from 9 to 11, which will not be so technical. So I know that a lot of people registered for this session, and for those that couldn't attend today, we want them to come in February, so know that that's available, and Kim on the way out, she can register you if you want to come again. So thank you for Megan, just Megan and William from the Census. If you have any additional questions, just reach out to me. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.